Hello and welcome back to the Orlando Adventures podcast. I'm your host Russ, and today's episode is the 2025 one. So 2024, what a year. And you know what, I can only look back on it personally from the point of view of the podcast. And you know what, I've said this probably about a million times at this point, but I can only say thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone who has taken the time out to listen to the Orlando Adventures podcast, to engage with it, to share it, to like it, to leave a review, to tell friends, tell family, to get involved in the merch and get some of the merch and share that in Orlando, to share pictures and videos of Doctor Doom out in Islands of Adventure, to all the people who have come on as guests to the podcast as well and taken their time out to do that. Each and every single one of you, and beyond that as well, the people who message me daily, because I have met some of the most incredible people via this platform. Honestly, I am so grateful. I really am, because I've met some people who I call some of my best friends. I genuinely have, and I'm not going to list them all because there's quite a few. But you'll all know who you are. If there's various people out there who I've met up with in person, or I exchange voice notes with them daily, or I just have constant conversations going on with them about things such as Orlando, but also outside of Orlando as well. And I'm just so grateful to everyone. I really am. And please, to anyone, if you ever want to just chat about Orlando or anything else, my DMs are always open. So I love it. I really, really do. And the interaction with all of you in the community is the most rewarding thing from hosting this podcast. I love it. And I love talking about Orlando. Obviously I quite enjoy talking. It's one of my favourite things. And I figured, you know what? To kick off 2025, let's talk about some of the things that I'm looking forward to. Let's talk about a few of those. And you know what? There's I'm not going to reel off. I'm excited to go and have a Mickey pretzel. Probably not going to do that. But what I am excited for is a couple of significant things that are happening next year. And I suppose let's start with Universal. Because it's realistically, they've got the biggest thing going on. And 2025, and I think it's May, the 22nd of May, 2025 marks the opening day of Epic Universe. This is a park that we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for a long time, and finally it is coming. It's made, it's built, it's done. And we are going to get to go and experience this amazing park, and I am so excited. I'm so excited because I'm not sure we're all ready. I genuinely am not sure that we're all ready for the opportunity to go into a new theme park in Orlando. This is an experience that a lot of us have never had, and I appreciate there's been Volcano Bay, so I like, to an extent, I feel like we've experienced it, but certainly not to this level. Certainly not to the level of a park which can be compared to Universal Studios, to Islands of Adventure, to any of the Disney parks as well. And you know what? These lands, these IPs, the properties they're using, the hotels, the actual aesthetic of the park, some of the elements that they're using in the park, such as things like the dueling coasters, they have absolutely nailed it. And I know I'm saying this before this park's even opened. It could open, it could be a shambles, but you know what? I'm confident. I'm confident that it won't. And you know what? I really want to go to Epic Universe this year. And I can say it now. Epic Universe opens this year, and I'm absolutely buzzing for it. I really, really am. And ultimately, I've got to look at this and go, this is year one. This is year one of this park, so we've got to cut it a little bit of slack. Let's be real. this park is going to be majorly busy. It really is. So I think, we've got to go into it. This has got to be the mindset. It really has. You've got to go into it thinking, you know what? We might get on 2 or 3 rides. And you know what? That is not a lot. It's not. And it's not a lot of bang for your buck. And realistically, this is going to be an expensive day out. It's going to be a very, very busy and crowded day out at that as well. But ultimately, if we just want to be in this park and experiencing it, within days or months of this park first opening, we have got to expect that to happen. And I'm buzzing for it. I really am. And you know what? As of right now, when I speak, when this episode comes out, I'm pretty certain that my ticket to Epic Universe is locked in. And unless something's gone wrong, it's happening. It's on. I'm going this year, and I'm buzzing. I really, really am. And I can't tell you when. Not just this second, but I will be telling you very soon as to when it is I will be going to Epic Universe. And I suppose keeping on the Universal theme then, what other things am I looking forward to this year from Universal? And you know what, it's easy for us to go, well, I want this ride. Well, they haven't announced any rides, have they? As of yet, or it's certainly not at the point of me recording this episode. But I think that without a shadow of a doubt, that they are going to announce a new land very soon. And I'm gonna hang my hat. I'm gonna hang my hat on this. I will be shocked if they do not go for Wicked in Universal Studios. I'm calling it. I've called this a while ago, to be fair. I was on an episode of Parks and Pals a few months ago now. It was in the summer. And we were kind of like fan casting what we put in the parks. And I said Wicked back then. And now the film's come out and I've seen the success of the film and I've seen the hype around it. I think Wicked's the way to go. I am absolutely certain of it. And you know what? I'm prepared to say that I think, and this is a complete fan cast, I think that Wicked will go where Fear Factor is, and I think they will close Men in Black as well. It's a big shout, it's a big call, and I'm not saying I want Men in Black to go, but I think it will go there. I can see it happening, and the reason why is because I can really, really see them going for like an Emerald City. I feel like Emerald City would be such an amazing backdrop to Universal Studios when you kind of walk around the corner to see the back of the park. I feel like by having this Emerald City in this Wicked area, you really could boost the numbers for this park, but also kind of have a bit of a competitor for Diagon Alley as well. I love Diagon Alley. I think it's incredible. I think it's one of the best areas in a park anywhere. But I think that this park needs something else, and I think it needs something big, and I think Wicked is it. I'm absolutely confident. I really am. And I think that Universal, they'll know this. They'll know how well that Wicked is done. It's closing in on being the biggest musical film ever. Which is what a testament. And I will say, I've watched the film. I love it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I really do. So, watch this space. I will be amazed if they don't announce this year, if they haven't already. I genuinely, I think it's going to happen. And I think that they will get to work on this quite quickly. I'm fairly certain of this. And I feel like they'll obviously start with the Fear Factor part of the park first, and they'll move over to where Men in Black is. I think this could be a really big area. I think it could be amazingly immersive, and it's one of those areas that from the moment you announce it, it's going to take a while to build. But ultimately, part 2 of the film comes out in November this year, so you've got a year of building more hype and building more hype. And then Universal are quick. I reckon they'll have this thing probably halfway done in that time. I reckon it will take them 2 years, but I think they'll announce it. I'm really, really certain of it. And in Universal as well, are there other things they're going to do? There's the small matter of things such as Fast and Furious, Simpsons, and Rip Ride Rocket as well. I don't know, but I think that the priority will be to go all out on the franchise that they have got that is absolutely hot at the moment. That's my opinion. I'll be really intrigued. I'll be really intrigued to know what you'll all think about it. And I'm going to do an episode on this because I am so certain that this is going to happen. I'm positive. I really am, and I'm prepared to make myself look like a complete idiot. If we look back at this episode in a year's time and nothing's been said, then call me out on it because I'm that confident that I think that this will happen. So we'll see. We will see. And also talking about Universal, there's another announcement that I think will happen in 2025 if it hasn't happened already at time of recording. And that's Universal Studios UK. I think this is going to get the green light. I really do. I'm growing more and more confident that this will happen. And it's not going to be without its hurdles, and I'm sure they're going, kind of over these hurdles as it is at the moment, and that's why it hasn't been announced as of yet. But it's in the process that is happening, and it's with government at the moment. That's as far as I'm aware. But I think this park will happen. I think it will get announced. I think it will get announced for probably a 2030 opening. And I'm buzzing. Any new theme park is incredible, but potentially to get a Universal Studios in the UK could be absolutely mind-blowing. It really could. And with things such as Epic Universe and hopefully they do some fairly major updates to Universal Studios, Universal could be, they could be really on the up. And I'm not going to say that they're gonna challenge the mouse or anything like that, because they're not on the same level as Disney. They're not, because Disney is such a juggernaut. Like, Disney as a company is absolutely ginormous. Like, Universal and NBC, Universal and the company who own it are absolutely ginormous, of course, but Disney is something else. Like, you think of like mega powers, Disney's right up there. So that's the things that I'm excited for Universal. Disney's a bit different because, I'll be honest, there's not mega things happening this year. So, I don't want to speculate on stuff, because at the same time, like, they did D23. They basically said what they're going to do. They gave the timeline of it. So it's not like I can turn around and be like, I hope that they're going to do X, Y, Z, because realistically, they've already announced everything. And, when stuff happens, I'm not quite sure. So it'll be good to start seeing some stuff happen. Like, there's quite a lot of announcements that are going to happen in 2025, but none of them, in my opinion, are that big. But the biggest thing for me probably is Test Track. Test Track for me is going to get its third chance. I really, really hope, and I'm intrigued. I am so intrigued to know what they're going to do with Test Track. You've all heard me talk about Test Track numerous times. I was a big fan of this ride growing up. I loved it, and this previous iteration of the ride for me just didn't hit, but some people love it, and that's absolutely fine. That's fantastic. Like, if we all like the same thing, it'd be very boring parks, wouldn't it? So I'm very excited for Test Track to be refreshed and to come out. And I mean, that's planned to be opening, I believe, kind of late summer. When summer is, I'm not 100% sure with regards to Disney's kind of schedule. I don't know, but we'll see what happens with Test Track. And from a personal point of view, I'm very excited for exploring Disney, exploring more of Disney, and I don't mean the parks. I mean more like the hotels, especially. As I'm talking right now, I'm on my trip. I'm on my trip right now, and I'm doing my first on-site stay, and there is another trip lined up. I will tell you that much, and I'm not going to announce it at this stage, but there is another trip, and I'm going to be going on site again, so that is going to be happening. And there's been a lot of talk this year from me about wanting to go to a certain place, and that place is Animal Kingdom Lodge. And I will let you into a little secret. It's happening. We are going to Animal Kingdom Lodge this year. So I'm not going to say any more than that at the moment. I will announce it very soon, but it is on. It is absolutely on, and I am buzzing for it. I really, really am. And I suppose there's not a lot of other stuff about Disney that I'm going to get into, because there's, I can do episodes, I can do full episodes on what I'm excited for with Disney with regards to the announcements that came out for D23 and, the stuff that is going to happen this year. But ultimately, the timelines are a bit all over the place at the moment. So until there's a bit of movement, it's going to be tough. So let's get into a bit of stuff about the podcast, the YouTube, and other stuff as well. Like, where do I personally see the podcast going in 2025? Well, there's the small matter of the 100th episode coming next month. So that's happening. That's going to be exciting. Hopefully it'll be a bit different. Hopefully, it'll be a fun episode and you'll all enjoy it. That's what I always, strive for when I'm making these episodes. We've got 1 year of the podcast, which sounds baffling to me because it feels like so much longer. It feels like I've been doing this podcast for a long time at this point. And I've said this so many times. I love it. I absolutely love it. And as decisions go, in 2024, starting this podcast was one of the best decisions that I've ever made, in absolute honesty with you. So I'm just excited. I am excited for what the future is going to bring with this podcast, because I always say this. We are just getting started, and I mean that. Like, we're going to be 100 episodes in, and I'm telling you that we are just getting started. We've got more exciting guests. Like, obviously, we've had some fabulous guests. Like, I have loved chatting with the guests, as I said at the start of the episode, and we're going to be getting even more guests. We're going to be getting guests returning, because I love chatting with the guests who I've had on. It's always a fantastic experience getting to chat with them again. So we've got a lot of guests coming back for second, maybe third episodes as well. We've got potential different types of episodes coming as well. We've got different opportunities. Like, there might be slightly different stuff, and you might see that very, very soon as well. So keep your eyes peeled, because I'm always trying to think of new angles, new way to make content about different stuff as well. And I suppose that leads me on to things such as And Beyond. Like, I've really enjoyed doing the And Beyond kind of series so far. Like, it's been fantastic talking to all the guests about their experiences in, these parks around the world, but also with regards to kind of like potential parks as well. And we can get into all sorts of topics with And Beyond. Like, we really can. I want to keep it theme park based. I do want to do that, but I like making content. So there's a lot of different topics that I like getting into, and a few of those are things such as Marvel, Star Wars. I love talking fitness and stuff like that. I love talking films. So maybe there's scope for me to branch out into talking about different topics via a different channel as well. I'm not sure. We'll see. Like, I come up with all these ideas. I've got a million ideas in my head, but ultimately I've got to be able to actually do them. So there's a lot of stuff kind of in the pipeline, and if you all want it, I'll try and do it. Like, I keep saying it, I love films. I absolutely love films. I'd love to do like some film reviews and stuff like that, and I appreciate that it doesn't coincide with Orlando Adventures. I know that. So maybe a second channel happens at some point. Maybe it's a pod, maybe it's a YouTube, I'm not sure. But, give me some feedback. Tell me what kind of stuff you guys want as well. If there's specific stuff with regards to Orlando, to Disney, to Universal that you guys want to hear about, like, please do tell me if there's topics that you want me to go into, because I've got loads of ideas written down. I've got ideas for years, but ultimately I want to make stuff that you guys are interested in. Like, I love doing the tours of the parks. I've really enjoyed doing that kind of series. I love talking about, my experiences. I quite enjoyed doing the controversial episodes. I've enjoyed doing the retro episodes. Obviously, we've got more of the retro episodes to get into. There's a lot of different stuff that we can do, and it's all just so much fun. It really is. And I suppose, talking about fun, we've got the YouTube. Obviously, if you're listening to this episode the day it drops, The YouTube episodes are coming within the next couple of weeks, so it depends ultimately when I can get the first one, the travel day, edited. I've got a lot on my schedule. I've got life, I've got the podcast, and then we're going to chuck YouTube on top of that as well. And there's me talking about doing other content. Like, I've got to try and not stretch myself too thin. I'll be real with you. Towards the end of 2024, I was close to burnout because I was doing a lot of content. And I love it, as I've said a million times as well. I love making this content and I feel obliged. I really do, because I've set the precedent that I'm so consistent and I don't want to let that slip. And there's me spinning all the plates in the background. You know, the man behind the curtain is spinning all these plates, and I was close to dropping them all. I will be real. And the one that I didn't want to drop was the pod. So I made sure that was the one spinning, but then other stuff did start to slip a little bit, and the main one being life. So I know I've got to find better balance. I'm aware of that. So don't worry, I'm good. Like, my trip to Orlando is very, very needed. So it's exciting with the YouTube. We've got the first series coming. We're gonna have the second series, as I've alluded to on this episode. There is another Orlando trip happening in 2025. So there will be another series coming for that as well. And then maybe we get into things like and beyond. Maybe there's certain other parks like in the UK, or maybe, you know, if I can wangle it, if I can make it work, maybe there are other trips on the cards as well. You know, it's no secret, I really want to go to DLP. I really want to do a Disney cruise. There's the scope for all of these. So if I can do it, if I can find the time, if I can afford it as well, then I absolutely will try to do these trips, you know, 100%. And ultimately I'll do this because I enjoy it. And you know what? If for anyone creating content, if you don't enjoy it, then you're never going to stick at it. And you know, I clearly do, because ultimately I'm 90 odd episodes into the podcast at this point, and I wouldn't be that far in if I didn't just enjoy doing it. It's a passion. I love it. And it's going to be the same for the YouTube. I've had a YouTube channel before. I'll level with you. I've had a channel. It wasn't that successful, I will be absolutely honest with you, but this was years and years ago. And I had a fitness channel and I loved doing it. You know, I did over 100 videos on that channel, and it's a weird one because some videos did exceptionally and some were very, very quiet. And, you know, I was at a different point in my life to where I am now, and I was at a point where I was creating content, whereas now I'm doing stuff because I just enjoy it, because I just love talking about it, because I love seeing Orlando, I love communicating with all of you, I love the actual, like, the art almost of just like, I'm just excited to keep getting the camera out. I really, really am. And, you know, like I said, with and beyond, we've got the scope to be able to do slightly different stuff as well. The other thing with regards to the podcast as well, which I did forget, to be fair, I've got plans. I've got plans to do episodes slightly different as well. So there is scope, and I haven't really spoke to many people about this yet because it's with regards to guest episodes. I would really like to do a few guest episodes in person in 2025. So watch this space. Maybe we can make it happen. Maybe we will. And you know, if we do, it will bring an entirely new dynamic to the podcast as well, because, you know, obviously I record over, you know, like a video chat at the moment, so to be able to potentially do it in person as well might be a really unique experience. So we'll, you know, again, watch this space. We'll see what happens. And the final other thing with regards to kind of like content creation, we've just had the Orlando Awards, and do you know what? It was so much fun. I loved doing the Orlando Awards with Parks and Pals because Chloe and Stephen, they are brilliant. I'm not going to hide it. They're two of my best friends. They really are. I think they are fantastic. I love listening to their podcast and getting involved in their YouTube channel as well. And, you know, it was a real pleasure to be able to do the Orlando Awards in 2024 with them. and that was year one. That was the first time of doing it. So later in 2025, we're going to have the exciting return of the Orlando Awards. You know, the more people that get involved, the more people that vote, you know, we're going to have more categories as well. We're going to have, you know, we might put a slightly different spin on it. We'll see what happens. It's going to obviously be quite a lot later in the year, but it's other things to look forward to. So ultimately, I hope you're all enjoying it. I hope you're all enjoying the Orlando Adventures podcast up to this point. And if you're listening to this one, you probably are. And I just can't thank you enough. I really can't. So I'm buzzing. I am buzzing to just get going with 2025. I've got so many goals, so many things I want to do, and so many things I want to achieve. And the podcast and the YouTube are right at the top of the list. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I know it's just a bit of an episode about me just kind of like gibbering on about kind of future plans, but you know, I feel like you're all so supportive and so invested in the podcast that I feel like this is a great space and a great opportunity to talk to you all about it. And you know what? Let's raise a bit of hype, a bit of excitement, because I know you'll all be buzzing for it as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will speak to you all in the next one.